Watch what he did with Asa. You want to play the clip with Asa?
Ooh.
Asa's question with COVID was like, game over in 15 seconds.
Yeah.
This thing didn't last that long. This is a 20-second clip.
He has that haircut, too.
Watch this.
The powers that government did usurp over the past several years is the right to decide what medicine you take in the form of COVID mandates. How did you feel about that? And how many COVID shots did you take? And how do you feel about it now, in retrospect?
How many COVID shots did you take?
0.
0.
But
Just no hesitation.
Look, he's not really running. It's a complete farce. I don't think we have to waste 2 brain cells on Asa Hutchinson. There's an interesting thing here with Tucker, though, because, you know, asking someone their personal medical history is a bit of a slimy move. I like Tucker as much as you do. I was on air at the height of COVID on Fox LA TV with Gloria Allred. You know Gloria Allred, famous civil rights attorney, Gloria Allred. And she asked me on air, on live TV, if I had been vaccinated. And I said, when was the last time you got laid? Because those questions were equally...
That was a great question you
valid.
asked.
Yeah, that's the moment right there.
Yeah,
Legend.
you have to play this. It's so good. Watch this here.
Yes, children could transmit the disease, although they rarely do, but the parents are all vaccinated if they're good, decent citizens. So I don't really understand the connection, actually.
Are you a good, decent citizen? Are you vaccinated?
It's nobody's business whether I'm vaccinated. That's like me asking you the last time you got laid. I mean, it's just...
All right, so, you know, what's really relevant is that it's one thing if you have the right to choose for your...
My medical history is not your business, nor yours is mine.
Let Clary finish.
Beautiful.
You know what's so crazy about that clip? That woman is a civil rights attorney. She's a legendary civil rights attorney. The idea that she would go on a television show and ask somebody their medical history is so insane, and then actually try to coerce me and the viewers into doing something that turned out to be complete nonsense. By the way, when I was saying good and decent citizen, I was obviously being sarcastic. Yeah. But the point is that Tucker asking him that was I think there's something to think about there if we want to really go down that road, and I'm not vaxxed and is what it is. But the other thing is, you know, Tucker never said it until then, which I thought was interesting, because he was on Fox for, you know, basically 2 years post mandates and all that nonsense. And it would have been interesting had he said it when he was there, or said, I can't get into the building because I'm not vaxxed. I'm actually, that's not a judgment call on Tucker. I think, you know, everyone has their own calculations, but he obviously was waiting for this moment for quite some time.
So let me ask this question here. So what's Tucker's fight? Okay, so there's a few ways to look at this, right, on what Tucker wants to do. And everybody gives a different answer. Oh, I think he's trying to do this, he's definitely not doing this, he's definitely not doing that, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So a lot of guys, like if you think about the lineage of what makes for a great president, is it former military? Is that what makes for a great president, or those days are 40 years behind us? It's no longer about the military. Is it a great media person who is a celebrity like a Arnold or a Trump? Like, is that what it is? Is it a journalist, like a writer, you know, a Churchill, a Netanyahu, somebody that's kind of been in that space where you kind of know every story that's been going on for 10, 20, 30 years?
A businessman.
A businessman is another one, because media could be different than a businessman. Like Arnold is a businessman. Jamie Dimon, you know, Trump, guys like that. What is the best one? So Tucker, is Tucker a great king? Is he a king maker? Is he a talent? Is he a person that is helping out a candidate today because in 2028 he's gonna all of a sudden announce that he's running and he's gonna become a 2-term president? Does he want to go out there and be a media mogul billionaire Rupert Murdoch? Does he want to be a Roger Ailes kingmaker? Does he want to be a Rush Limbaugh, replace all of that times 10? What do you think Tucker's next play is?
What's your policy on the F-bomb on the podcast?
No, you're good. It's totally
because
fine.
I'll give you an exact quote from Tucker. The first time Tucker came to my house was in my studio when I lived in Sherman Oaks in LA, and I had my studio in my garage, and it was very early on of anyone actually being independent, building their own studio, all of the stuff that you've now done. He walks into my house, opens the door to the garage. I'm sitting on set already. Opens the door, and this is exactly what he said. He said, holy fucking shit, you did it, man. Meaning I had built a television quality, broadcast quality studio
On
in
your
my
own.
garage. It blew his mind. He then wrote in the book, he wrote, "You're doing it for all the suckers like me who are getting a paycheck for someone
Wow,
else."
what a perspective, Rubin.
So I'll tell you this. I think there's two things there. On the micro level, his biggest desire right now is, I think, to build some sort of network, be the new independent voice, really do what we are doing. Really, I think he sees that as the future. I think he's now incredibly angry at Fox, obviously. I know he's not, he seems very at peace personally, but I mean, there's going to be a vengeance level there. He wants to build new media. And then there may be a political play beyond that. I actually don't really sense that from him. I think he senses, probably like you sense, when people say to you, "Why don't you run for president?" Or when they say to me, "Why don't you run for governor?" It's like, I think there's a way we can affect things in a bigger way from the outside and still maintain our dignity and our good lifestyles and all of those things. I think he's really into that. I think he's happy driving his little golf cart around his little island in Florida and all of those things. So I don't see the political part, but I do see the media empire part. And to really, he loves ideas to shape what the discourse, especially on the right, will be culturally. I think that's his thing.
Well, I mean, the story came out, the fact that, what page is that on, Rob? The story came out about him raising money. There it is. Reuters, Tucker Carlson to create a new media company. Wall Street Journal reports. This is on page 12, and I think they're raising $100 million. Former Fox News host Tucker Carlson and former White House advisor Neil Patel are looking to raise funds to start a new media company that could potentially be anchored on Twitter. The Wall Street Journal reported on Friday the duo is looking to raise hundreds of millions of dollars to fund the company. The report said, citing people familiar with the matter, the company would be anchored by longer versions of the free videos that Carlson has been posting regularly on Elon Musk's Twitter since his departure from Fox News, but would ultimately be driven by subscription. According to the report, Carlson and Fox News agreed to part ways in April after the whole $787 million lawsuit with the Dominion voting system by airing false allegation, rigging claims, et cetera, et cetera. So, and then at the same time, Insider comes out with a story talking about the number of views for Tucker Carlson's new show on Twitter has dropped by 86% since its launch, okay? Tucker Carlson's new show on Twitter has experienced a staggering 86% decline in video since its launch in June. The latest episode garnered 3.8 million views compared to the impressive 26 million views on the first episode. The drop in Carlson's viewership on Twitter coincides with the overall decline on the platform. Twitter advertising sales plummeted by 59% recently, partly attributed to an increase in hate speech. Additionally, Twitter faces competition from Meta's Threads, which gained over 30 million downloads in its first day and received a cease and desist letter from Elon Musk's attorney alleging employee poaching and copying. So, two questions. One,
there's a lot of nonsense there.
Listen, react to all of it. React to all of it. On one, them raising money with Neil Patel, and two, what Insider's saying about his viewership dropping.
Well, let's do the viewership thing first. One thing you didn't mention there that it says in the article is that Twitter right now counts a view as 2 seconds of view time. You would never, for your podcast, count that as a view.
And they change it in May, by the way, to be fair. They change it in May.
So there's some question as to what Twitter is doing on the numbers side, because the numbers don't quite make sense. When he gets 50 million views, it's like, well, does that mean someone just literally scrolled past it on their phone, happened to pick up a drink at that moment, so their phone stopped, and now that counts as a view? So there is some legitimate questions in terms of what's actually a view and how much that's actually worth. You know, even if you do an hour-long show and someone only watches a minute, did they even see an ad? Is there a way to sell that? All of those things. This concept that there's somehow more hate speech on Twitter is sort of absurd because, as the Supreme Court has decided, there's no such thing as hate speech, and actually Twitter is a lot freer now. So if you want to be in a curated, silenced silo, you should go to Threads. But also, you guys probably saw, Threads usage is down by about a quarter in a week.
Yep.
And Zuckerberg hasn't even posted on the freaking thing in a week. So there's a lot of stuff there. But yes, on the media side, I think he would love to build what we've built on steroids. I think that's the direction.
How successful do you think he's going to be? How big do you think it'll be?
He'll have unbelievable access to money. He'll have unbelievable access to talent. I think he has the cultural zeitgeist. He gets what's going on the right. He also seems in a really good place, sort of mentally and spiritually and philosophically. So I think there's kind of endless upside there.
Rob, by the way, I'm not insulting you by looking at my phone. I'm just trying to get this one because my phone, iPad all of a sudden started updating. I'm trying to send you these 2 pictures to show on Threads because he did say something about Threads that people need to see. Rob, I just sent it to you here. Here's a couple things I'll say about the whole numbers dropping off, et cetera, et cetera. Well, first of all, he hadn't spoken for a couple months, whatever the timeline was. Then his first video came out. Of course, the first video is going to be an unfair expectation that every episode's going to do what the first one's going to do. That's not how stuff works out. You know, you have to be very realistic about that. The first one's going to be 4 to 5 times bigger than anything else you do, and it goes back to the normal numbers that people do. I'm willing to bet out of people who watched the first episode, if I were to ask 1,000 Tucker fans, if you watched the first episode and how many have you watched all the episodes after that, I'm willing to bet 90% is going to say, I watched the first one, but I've probably only seen 1 or 2 other after the next one. That's natural. That's normal. That's going to happen. But, you know, it's great when people want to go after a guy they fear as much as they do with Tucker being, you know, Rogan's the GOAT in the podcasting space. Tucker is the GOAT in the mainstream, you know, whatever you want to call it. It's a different kind of a model of a business, but he's also proven that he can do the model of Fox. He can also do this. And even his style of the show, you know, he's reading, and he wrote it himself when he's going to, you know, people maybe helping him out, but it's him saying it, him writing it. But when you also see him when he gave his speech, you know, and he's very animated, and he's like loose, and he's like, you almost feel like he, you know, it's like, I feel like the handcuffs and shackles are off of, you know, what he can and can't say, and he's letting it rip doing what he's doing. But it's going to be exciting to see what this guy's going to be doing.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.